Howdy folks! Steam's been having its famous holiday sale, and I've picked up a lot of new games. Most of them are new to me without necessarily being that newly released, but some of them are a bit more recent as well. Some people have been saying, I can't wait to see you review that one or that one, and I thought, how am I going to make a video to review every single one of these video games? It would take me forever to make that many videos. Oh wait, I could just do one friggin' video for all of them. So here's a really quick clip of my thoughts on each game that I've received for the holiday season, and keep in mind that several of these I have not beaten, a few I have, a few I haven't, because I've got so much on my plate to play right now. A lot of these reviews are just going to be first impressions. I'll let you know if I've beat it or not before we start in on the review. Let's start out with And Yet It Moves. And Yet It Moves is an indie game. It is basically a puzzle platformer. As you can see, it has a very interesting art style. A lot of these games I'm going to review do. Basically, the interesting thing about And Yet It Moves is, apart from just using your character to jump around on platforms, you also can move the entire world. So you rotate the world to solve puzzles, basically using gravity and such to move obstacles, to move yourself, etc, etc. And that's how you pass these different obstacles. I've only played a little while of this because I wanted to get back to a few other similar games before I crack this one open to any significant degree. But I have enjoyed this quite a bit. Art's really interesting. As you can see, it basically looks like everything's cut out of paper. There's no storyline, at least not that's immediately apparent, but so far it's pretty fun. It seems like a very challenging puzzle platformer, lots of strategy involved in how you're going to move your character. I would probably say this is a pretty decent game. I still need to play a lot more before I can form a solid opinion. While not technically a Christmas gift, one of you kind fans did gift me Arkham City, and so since it was close to Christmas, I'm going to call it a Christmas gift and review it here. I've been having a lot of fun with this game. I'm only about 7% of the way through, even though I've played for many hours, because this game really does have so much that you can do in it. Basically, you're Batman, and you end up in Arkham City, which is kind of like a colony of criminals. It's not even a prison, it's just, alright, well, I'll put all the criminals in one place and kind of let them make their own civilization, which of course is crime-ridden and terrible, like Australia. But, and so you play as Batman, and you get to fight basically all of Batman's most known enemies, and some that you might not know if you don't read the comic books. Also, you spend a significant time playing as Catwoman, which was not present in Arkham Asylum, the previous game that came out in 2009 with the same style. It's really fun. Unfortunately, my only complaint is you spend so much time in detective mode, which kind of makes your screen go all X-ray, that you really don't get to see how beautiful the game is. They've spent a lot of time making really detailed environments, but because of how imperative it is that you spend a lot of time in detective mode, your eyes kind of start itching after a while just because you'll see so much blue and orange. But puzzle solving's awesome. Riddler trophies that you get to go find are super fun. There's special ones for Catwoman too in this one. They managed once again to make the most simple combat system actually look pretty cool, even though it's actually quite boring. Basically, you just spam click, and sometimes you right click, and you get to pull off these super awesome moves. There are some combo moves, but generally speaking, you can just left click spam your way to victory for pretty much any non-boss fight, and it's pretty fun. So basically, it's not really about combat, but they made combat look really good. This game I'm really loving. I'm also kind of a DC Comics fan. Don't know if everyone knows this, but I do read comic books, particularly DC, so I really am very happy to have picked up this game, and I would recommend it definitely if you like DC Comics. And if you don't like DC Comics, I think you could still enjoy this game. Borderlands is another one that I received. Borderlands is a sort of RPG of sorts with guns. It's a first-person shooter RPG, if you will. You can choose 4 classes. They're your usual classes. You got like a sniper class, a melee heavy class, if you will, a rogue sort of class, and then just your basic soldier. And the cool thing about Borderlands is that it actually has a very strong co-op. A lot of games tend to have co-op as a sort of secondary thought, or just not very well integrated into the storyline at least. Maybe they might have it on like online only. But as a storyline, this is probably one of the best integrations of co-op I've ever seen. And so I've been playing with my boyfriend quite a bit, and it has been so much fun. It's one of the few games that I haven't torn his head off about when we try and play co-op. And basically, you are a vault hunter on a planet called Pandora. The vault is just this mythical place, kind of like a El Dorado, if you will, that just has tons of riches and powerful artifacts and stuff in it. So you're a vault hunter, and you're looking for the vault, basically. And so you can level up your character and your skills and your weapon proficiencies. You find weapons out there which, you know, they're random drops. It's not all scripted, and you might find a more powerful shotgun than your current submachine gun, all that stuff. It is actually very fun. I like the cel-shaded graphics. It kind of reminded me of playing 13 again, which I hadn't played in a very long time, so I was excited about that. There's some vehicle stuff. It so far has been a lot of fun. I'm usually not one for co-op games, so the fact that I've had as much fun with it as I have had is pretty amazing. So this is one that's on the highest recommendations of the games that I've played this Christmas. This is one that I would recommend to pretty much anyone who likes video games. It has been that much fun. Plus, you can play co-op online with me, so who wouldn't want to? Bastion is one of the ones that I've heard the most about but played the least of. Basically, it's an action role-playing game in kind of an anime fantastical style, if you will. I'm gonna stop saying if you will. But basically, you play a silent character, and the game is entirely narrated by dynamic voiceovers. So, as you do things in the world, the voiceover will narrate what you're doing, and that's how the story's told. And it's actually a really interesting, it's definitely got its own style, and it's got a lot of character. It's got a lot of really good reviews about its music, which so far I've enjoyed quite a bit as well. The colors, the art is just beautiful. Basically, my complaint about this that I've come up against is I'm really getting sick of games where I just click on things in a certain direction and I fight it. There is some strategy with different weapons and such, but I'm just really bad at click-fest games I've found, and so this game hasn't been a lot of fun for me, but I'm gonna give it more of a chance, because beyond that, it's actually really cool. The storyline's engaging. Basically, you wake up after calamity, not a cataclysm, a calamity. Almost everyone's dead, the world's falling apart, so you kind of start rebuilding it starting from the Bastion, which is like your safe house. You have to go find cores and such, and it's kind of interesting. It's very endearing. I'm gonna enjoy playing a lot more of it, but I haven't played a whole lot. All in all, it seems to be an okay game, is kind of how I put it, but it has a lot of potential, and I probably will come up saying it's a great game. Warning, please hold off on watching this next little bit of the video if you have epileptic seizures. I am not kidding. This is seriously likely to cause you to have a seizure if you are prone to these. Come back when I'm done reviewing Audiosurf. Thanks. Audiosurf is a music game. I can't really think of any other way to explain it, but if you've played things like Guitar Hero, you understand the concept of a music game, or DDR, I guess. Basically, Audiosurf will take any MP3 you can find. It uses your own music. You can even record, I could take this audio right here, turn it into an MP3, and play it on Audiosurf if I wanted to. But basically, the game will read your MP3 file, turn it into a music track, and basically you get to ride around on this music track. And you want to be picking up certain types of blocks and creating certain patterns with it. There are a lot of different ways you can play. I tend to play in monocolor, which basically means get colored blocks, avoid gray blocks, and win. But there are really complicated versions where there's like 5 different block colors, maybe 4, I'm not sure, because I don't really play that mode. And then you want to create patterns with each one, and it's really fast-paced. I think there's a lot of really hardcore strategizing and math you could do if you wanted to get really into this game. I'm not really into this game. I really enjoyed it. It's just not my kind of game. So I really like picking it up as, I'll do it for 10 minutes as a novelty game. It's really cool, and it's relatively cheap. If you just want something cool to look at, I would highly recommend this game. It's a lot of fun. I hope no one had a seizure from watching this. I'm going to just play a little bit of the music along with it really quick so that you can see how this game works.
Change your mind. I wouldn't save you from the path you wander. In desperation, dreams and this soul can set you free. And I still hear you scream in every breath, in every single motion. Burning innocence, the fire to set you free.
Defense Grid is your basic tower defense style game. You're you. You don't really get a character. And you're being assisted by this personality who is like a person who is downloaded into a robot. There's a little bit of storyline with him. But basically it's just a tower defense game. You have to keep aliens away from your power cores, and if they get your power cores and run off with them, you lose a life. If you lose all your lives, you die. Pretty good tower selection. Just for the most part, your usuals. You got some slow towers, some long range, some ones that deal with flyers. Pretty much run-of-the-mill tower defense game, but it's actually one of the more challenging ones I've played. There's a lot of different versions for every map. You can play Adrenaline, in which case everything just keeps coming faster and faster. You can play with limited towers. You can play with your cores are poison. There's all sorts of different game modes to play for every map. There's a lot of downloadable content. There's Portal-themed downloadable content, which is actually the reason I got this game. This has so far been my favorite tower defense game I've ever played. It's just the graphics are really clean. The towers are pretty basic, yet at the same time that's not necessarily a bad thing. Storyline's decent. And I just thought they did a really good job. It's very challenging without being completely impossible, but it is a real challenge if you're not amazing at these games. And I would highly recommend this to anyone who either likes tower defense already or wants to get into tower defense. This is my favorite game of the genre so far, so check it out. Tower Defense, Defense Grid The Awakening, and then there's all the downloadable content. I love it. Check it out. Limbo is another puzzle platformer with a very unique art style and feel. It's pretty much all in black and white grayscale stuff. You play a little boy who's just, there's no real storyline. You don't understand why you're in this world, but you're in this silhouette world, and it's your basic platformer. You jump and such, and there's puzzles. Puzzles are pretty difficult. You know, this isn't a game for a 5-year-old, and it's also a very dark game. The art is beautiful. You play a little boy, but this is a very, very morbid game. There's ragdoll physics when you die. It's a very frightening world that you're in. But the puzzles are top-notch. You won't sit here for hours just trying to solve a puzzle. You'll probably take about 4 hours to beat it, but it's a great game. Like I said, it's only about 4 hours, so it's not very long, but it is relatively satisfying. This is one of the few that I've completed. Some people complained about the ending. I can see it both ways, but regardless, it's more about solving the puzzles and less about the storyline, since there really isn't a storyline. So check it out if you like puzzle platformers, and it also, as you can see, has a very unique art style. The ambient noise, there really is very little music, it's all just noise, but it sounds really good. This was a very nice platformer. If you don't really like platformers, it probably won't be your game. It's frustrating at some points if you're not really used to the gameplay style. But if you really want to play some fun puzzles, go ahead and try this out. There's some and yet it moves sort of mechanics of moving the world around to solve puzzles, etc. But it's a really interesting, very dark puzzle platformer. So check it out. I probably wouldn't pay more than $5 for it personally, but it's still, if you can get it for $5 or less, great game. Give it a shot. Orcs Must Die is another game that takes the tower defense concept and changes it a little bit. Instead of being the overseer who's just putting up towers, you are actually a war mage who's trying to keep all these orcs from streaming in and getting to a portal. So you put up different traps. There's floor traps, wall traps, ceiling traps, all of different kinds. You got your usual slow traps, you got things that hit really hard but fire slow, things that fire really quickly but don't hit very hard, etc., etc., the usuals. You also have your own weapons, which you can actually engage the orcs in combat. It's all pretty simple. There is a storyline, but it's relatively cliche. But the character, the war mage, is just incredibly lovable. The graphics with all the cartoony look is really cool. The levels are quite challenging without being pull your hair out hard. And I really did enjoy this game a lot. This is one of the ones that I would recommend a lot. Maybe it's just because I'm on a tower defense kick, but this is one that I highly recommend. It was a lot of fun, and I'm gonna keep playing it and keep playing it because I thought this game had a lot of personality, and I hope the studio keeps making more games. That will unfortunately be it for the Christmas extravaganza. I did also receive Rock of Ages and Plants vs. Zombies. However, YouTube did something really dumb and basically revoked a ton of people's privileges to upload videos longer than 15 minutes, and this account unfortunately was caught up in that, so I'm going to have to cut it off here. However, I'm going to expand more upon these games and also talk about the games I didn't get a chance to on my blog over at FaidPlays.blogspot.com, so go ahead and check that out. Also, if you have any questions about any of these games, go ahead and leave them in the comments, or go head over to the blog and leave them in comments over there. I'll be happy to answer any questions you got. I hope everyone else had a Merry Christmas, and go play some tower defense and puzzle platforms, because apparently that's what I'm going to be playing all year.